Breaking news from Washington, Kevin McCarthy has officially been removed as House Speaker after just 8 months in the job. What happens next? And could Kevin McCarthy actually make a comeback? We have all of the angles covered coming up. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and typically we are covering just California politics. But today we have one of our own members of Congress, Kevin McCarthy from the Central Valley, who's been voted out as House Speaker after only 8 months in the job. A group of conservative Republicans, 8 of them, voted to remove him from office, led by Matt Gaetz. They say that he has not been conservative enough, has not been aggressive enough in pursuing conservative goals, and that he's not lived up to his commitments. Now, let me walk through where things go from here, and there are 3 possible outcomes. First, right after this historic vote, because this is the first time in the history of our nation that a House Speaker has been removed successfully from the position. Back in the early 1910s, Speaker Cannon survived a motion to vacate. McCarthy is the first in the history of America to be actually removed from his post. The vote was 216 to 210. All Democrats voted against McCarthy. They had announced that earlier. And that kind of surprised me because I figured we might have a few Democrats saying, hey, let's not have anarchy and chaos. Let's save this guy. But more on that in a moment. There might be a play there, a strategy that they're pursuing. But there were 8 members of the House. No California Republican members of the House voted with Matt Gaetz and his coalition to remove Kevin McCarthy. Immediately, the position was vacated. So he was removed. He's not House Speaker. He's just a normal member of Congress. However, there is a little-known secret provision that's in the House rules where the Speaker of the House files a letter with the House clerk stating that if he's ever removed or incapacitated, that a Speaker pro tem will immediately be able to take the job so that the functions of the House representatives can continue. Kevin McCarthy picked his close friend, Patrick McHenry, as what we call Speaker pro tem. So Patrick McHenry from North Carolina recessed the House, and that allows the Democrats and the Republicans to now meet separately and devise what their next plan is. There are 3 possible outcomes of this process. Number 1 is that Kevin McCarthy goes back into the House Republican Conference behind closed doors and wheels and deals and brings back some of the votes that he lost. Now, he can only lose 5 votes in the House of Representatives on his side in order to keep his job. In order to regain his job, he would also have to get those votes back so that he has a majority of members present and voting to become Speaker again. So that's the first most likely outcome. I know people are probably surprised by that, but Kevin McCarthy could very well come back as House Speaker in very short order. It's whether or not he can persuade some of those breakaway Republicans with various deals to back him. And then he gets nominated as Speaker on the House floor. They go through the whole naming of all the members of Congress. They all vote, probably multiple ballots like we saw back in January. So that's the first possible outcome. The second possible outcome, he's not able to do a deal with Republicans. So he goes over and talks to some of the Democrats, maybe some of the moderate Democrats, and he strikes a deal with them. Now, this is very dangerous in that if he becomes Speaker in a coalition of Republicans and Democrats, that creates all sorts of problems because it opens him up from the conservative faction of the Republican Party, and rightfully so, that he's moving too far to the left. And several Republicans on his side may not want to stick to that deal. They may say, look, people back home are going to say, why are you voting with Democrats for Kevin McCarthy versus sticking with all the other Republicans? Why are Democrats playing a role in selecting who the House Speaker is? I think that is a very troubling outcome, and I'm curious as to what Kevin McCarthy would offer Democrats. That's why I don't think he goes down that road. The third outcome is that McCarthy gives up. Oh, no, no, no. I don't think the third outcome is other Republicans vie against him for Speaker, because I think McCarthy has a block of votes. And, a small block of votes took the speakership away from Kevin McCarthy today. But McCarthy's committed, ride till we die block of votes, because of the money he's raised for them, because of the personal friendships, all sorts of, things that go on in everyday life. They're probably not going to give up on McCarthy and go with another candidate for Speaker until McCarthy says, all right, I am throwing in the towel. And one thing I know about Kevin McCarthy is he doesn't quit. He understands this math. The more likely scenario is that McCarthy goes back to the table and tries to pick off conservatives. Let me talk about, though, the fundamental challenge here. I think that Republicans really are stuck between a rock and a hard place. There are some Republicans in that conference who say that their job is to govern and cut deals in Washington. Unfortunately, the deals that get cut typically don't reflect our values, don't reflect why our voters have sent us to Washington, why activists get involved in campaigns, grassroots activists. And so I think people are frustrated. They're fed up. They're scared. They're scared about the direction of our country, and they want to see more done by House Republicans, certainly by Senate Republicans, to use what little influence they have by controlling the legislative branch, at least in the House, and having a bulk of senators in the Senate to change these swampy bad deals that are being made in Washington. There's not enough reform that's happening. At the same time, I think it is absolutely vital that Kevin McCarthy and the House Republicans get more aggressive and more conservative. I'm sorry, but the American people need to see a stark contrast. They need to see Republicans fighting on policy issues, not petty inside politics, but policy issues, bold ideas, large reform packages, because they need to see that there is an alternative, that there are better ideas out there. Coming back to California politics, you think it's bad in Washington with House Republicans? Take a look at the California Republican Party. Completely a dumpster fire in terms of its ability to recruit and support candidates, to recruit volunteers, reach out to different constituencies, Latinos, Asians, African Americans, college students. A complete inept operation at the California Republican Party. I think that that's one of the reasons why we are a super minority in California. We don't really have a functioning opposition party. But also, take a look at some of the sellouts that we've elected to positions all throughout the state of California, in the state legislature, in county positions, in city positions, and local positions. Republicans want people who are going to fight and stand on principle, and we're not seeing enough of that. So some of the problems that you're seeing in Washington are just magnified by tenfold here in California. It's one of the reasons why Reform California exists. But I'll end on this, because who knows what happens in the next 24, 48, 72 hours. This could drag on for a few weeks, actually. But I actually think that this is going to likely lead to a necessary conversation about what can House Republicans do to be more aggressive and more conservative and more principle-oriented to change the swamp in Washington. I'd like that same conversation to be had here in California. I think that's why California Republicans have become a super minority party. That's a healthy discussion to have. We can't continue to compromise our way into non-existence. We've got to stand, offer a bold alternative, and really fight for the things that we believe in. So I'm curious to see what you have to say about this debate in Washington, which direction you think it'll go. Do you think those conservative Republicans should do a deal with McCarthy? Do you think there's a better speaker candidate that could come to the fore? What could McCarthy do to restore your trust and confidence? Sound off in the comment section below. but it's going to be very interesting to watch the next few hours, days, and weeks in Washington and see whether there are lessons for California Republicans. Until next time, I'm Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California. Thanks for watching. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media by liking this video, sharing it with your friends, and subscribe to my YouTube channel.